It's been almost 2 years since the last time I made a tier list video on Gears of War, and it's now finally time to revisit it. This time I'll be ranking all of the Locust drone variants, subclasses and mutations in the games. So this is of course my opinion, so feel free to agree or disagree in the comments. I'll be taking into account their character designs, their purpose, what they offer to the gameplay experience, and their lore, so a lot to take into consideration. As always, I'm your host Abz, and man, I'm excited for this one. Which Locust drone variants are the best, and which are the worst? Let's get into this. Okay, so first up we're going to rank the standard Locust drones themselves, the main and most common enemy type in the Gears games. Let's be real, what an absolute goated enemy. The Locust and the drones in particular are just amazing enemies to take on. They match the Gears with their aura. They're bloodthirsty and merciless, and their character design is unique and just fits the world of Gears so well. Sometimes we don't give the drones the credit they deserve, since they become cannon fodder in the games, but that does not mean to say that they're not a force in their own right. They are a force, and the Gears of War E-Day trailer showcased exactly that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the standard Locust drone as S tier, and then that will be the benchmark for all the other variants. So if a drone or Grenadier variant is more badass than the standard variant, then it'll go into S+ tier, and if it isn't, then it'll drop into the lower tiers, and it's as simple as that really. But one of the standard Locust drone variants that do look really badass in my opinion are the ones with helmets. They don't have a separate name or subclass, it's just that there are some drones throughout the campaigns that have it on. Very rare, and there are slight variations of the helmets, but I want to put those guys in S+ tier because I just love how they look. For our first variant though, if you want to call it that, we have the Locust drone hybrid, which are the first successful drones created in the Mount Kadar laboratory. These are essentially your standard Locust drones once you strip their armor off and leave them in their metal Locust underwear, if you want to call it that. But regardless, I think they're really cool, but I think it's only right to put them with their standard variant in the S tier, since they're exactly the same but without armor. Next we have the sniper drones, a staple enemy since the very first game. Expert marksmen who use the COG's longshot to devastate in use. On higher difficulties they're deadly, the way they take cover and can pop you out of literally nowhere. When you think of drone variants, the first one you pretty much think of is snipers, and that says it all really. The Locust sniper domed Anthony Carmine without even breaking a sweat, and so he cemented himself in Gears lore forever. The snipers in my estimation deserve the S tier. However, there was a rare sniper variant that had a helmet, and that sniper drone looked even more badass, so he can have the S+ tier. The Cyclops, one of my favourite drone variants. They get their name from their signature monocular targeting helmet. The Cyclops are menacing and strategic. Firstly, they look amazing with their helmet, and also their segmented shoulder pad is great, but I just love the lore behind them and just the way they affect the gameplay experience. Scavenging fallen lancers from dead Gears, and then using the chainsaw bayonet to slice more Gear soldiers in half, whilst screaming in laughter. The Cyclops don't give a damn, and they love what they do, and I just love them for that, so S+ tier for me. Next we have the Beast Riders, who as it says on the tin, ride beasts. They are specialists in riding the different hollow creatures at the Locust's disposal, so they're such an important asset to the Horde. They are another staple drone variant in the games, being seen many times. Their helmet is unique, but I don't really think there's any lore behind it, it's just its own unique helmet design. The Beast Riders are a devastating enemy since they come at you in so many different ways on different beasts, and there's so many different ways to kill them. Do you kill the Blood Mountain first, and then watch the Beast Rider fall off and then shotgun him in the face? Do you snipe him off a Reaver? Or do you freaking tear them in half like Michael Barrick did before he died? Just like the sniper drones, the Beast Rider also have taken a character's death, as the Beast Rider shot Barrick in the back, as Barrick teared other Beast Riders in half. So yeah, to be honest, they're just too iconic. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the drone Beast Riders in S tier, and then put the Grenadier Beast Riders in S+ tier, because they were even more badass. They were the ones seen on Blood Mounts in Gears 2, and man, they looked so amazing. But also there was another Beast Rider variant seen in Gears 2's campaign, and that to me looked like a Grenadier Elite Beast Rider, which was cool, but I'm gonna put him in the S tier, simply because the Grenadier Beast Rider just outshines the other Beast Rider versions. Next up we have the spotter drones, and although these drones are some of the most unique in terms of their helmet and especially their heavily armoured shoulder pads, which look really sweet. For me, they just don't serve much purpose, and they really weren't seen enough for my liking. So I'm going to put the spotters in the B tier. I was thinking maybe A tier, but I'm going to go B tier, because I think some other variants are worthy of the tier A, and I don't think spotter deserves to be with those boys. We also have the Locust gunner drones, and for me they're a step up from the spotters, so I'm going to put them in a respectable slot on the A tier. Their design is great, and I love their scuba-like helmets. And honestly, to master the Troika heavy machine gun, a machine gun that General Rahm has also mastered, puts you in respectable territory for sure. So then I started thinking S tier, but what drags them down to A tier for me is that I just find them really annoying in Gears 1 especially. I absolutely hate their snapshot aim on the turret in high difficulties. So yeah, A tier is a fair assessment in my book. But don't forget that A tier is still really good. Next we have the Locust miners, who have only ever been a multiplayer character, but they do have some interesting lore, as they helped acquire resources to manufacture the Locust war machine, where they'd mine ore and other resources. They're most likely builders in Nexus, and are therefore most likely non-combatants, so they had their special helmet for those purposes, but to be honest, I was never really a fan of their design in terms of Locust standards, and I also think their lore could have been expanded on, and should be expanded on in the future. So therefore, I'm going to put them in the B tier. A good concept for a character, but should have been fleshed out way more in terms of lore. They have the potential to be S tier in the future for sure. Like imagine if they appeared in a comic or campaign DLC, and they're seen actually being put to use in the Hollow by their superiors. That would be really cool to see. Next we have the Hunters. Assassins whose original lore was that they predated the Grenadier and used the Theron Guard's deadly tugboats to hunt down COG and civilian leaders in the early Locust War era. I really hope that this lore is brought to life in Gears E-Day, but they've only so far been a multiplayer character, so as of now I'll put them in A tier and maybe in the future they'll receive more love. However, I gotta say the Hunter Elite is S+ tier for me. He's just been one of my all-time favourite multiplayer character skins. Master Assassins, and basically Grenadiers but with more aura, with that amazing shoulder pad, and Grenadiers were always my go-to for multiplayer, so they've always held a special place for me. The Hunter Elite is one of my goals for multiplayer, so yeah, S+ tier. Next we have the Bolter drone. Extremely fast drones who basically bolt around and pop in and out of cover while they pin you down with a bolt-up pistol. They've got better, more improved armor plates on their shoulders, and they've got their signature bolter helmets too. I don't know, I really have been a big fan of the bolters, and I just like their style, and the fact that they're the fastest drones is a W for them. When they were playable in multiplayer for the first time ever in Gears 5, I was really excited, and yeah, I'm a big fan, so I'll put them in the S tier. Next we have another great variant, which is the Grappler drone. I really like their style, and just the way they implemented in the universe and gameplay. In Gears 2, the way they used the grappling hooks to climb onto the assault derricks, and in other parts of the campaign was so cool. Their helmet is very different and looks like a VR headset, although they wore it way before VR was even a thing. And I actually do like the lore behind the helmet, which is to help them adjust to the rapid change of lighting from the Hollow, and that the helmet could possibly possess distance measuring details to help them throw their grappling hooks. I really love the grapplers, and they've never been playable in a multiplayer. They were supposed to be in Gears 2's multiplayer but never made it, so hopefully we get to play as them in the future. I'm in two minds, either S tier or S+ tier, but I think I'm going to squeeze them into S+, because they're just so different and badass in their own way. Next we have the Locust Disciple drones who were introduced in Gears Tactics as part of Ukon's army. Their design is unique and pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. But to be honest, I don't like them because their lore makes no sense to me, and for me it was a lazy lore design to have a freaking emotion harness on them like nothing else could have been used by Ukon to experiment on drones with. They could have had drones who had been mutated, drones who were bigger, drones who had been mutated with boomers or something, just something crazy like that since Ukon was a madman. But they went for a lazy emotion harness, which makes no sense because he should have technically turned Lambent. So yeah, I'm going to put the Disciples in tier D because they shouldn't have even existed. Then we have a goated Locust drone variant in my book, the Rager, who would just be like your standard drone equipped with a breech-shot rifle. An amazing weapon by the way, I really love that weapon. But once enraged, they would metamorphose into a bigger, stronger monstrosity. almost like a mini berserker, and I loved fighting them in Gear's Judgment. They're a really fun enemy type and one of my favourite drone variants ever, so S+ tier for me. There was a drone variant only seen in Gear's Judgment I believe, and this was the Flame Drone. They used the type of different helmet variations of the standard Locust drone, and they were a very rare enemy type. But to be honest, they were nothing too special and they weren't as well designed as the Flame Grenadiers, since they were missing the elite armor and especially the heat resistant helmet, so I think they can go in the S tier alongside the standard drones. Next, we're going to move on to what I like to call the older brothers of the Locust drones. The OG Grenadier variant was my favourite and go-to for multiplayer back in the day, and I just loved their aura and physique, and they inspired me to hit the gym as well, I'm not gonna lie. They're aggressive and push you with the Nasher in the campaigns, and on higher difficulties they can easily gib you into nothing but bits. They can be deadly. I love their design, their fighting style, weapon arsenal and just pretty much everything about them. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them in S tier, simply because the Hunter Elite is a step above them in my opinion, so he went into S+, and likewise for the Grenadier Beast Rider. So any Grenadier variant that I think edges the standard Grenadier makes it into S+. Then we have the Grenadier Elites, just elite versions with more armor and can take and dish out even more damage in the campaign. To be honest, I've always preferred the standard Grenadiers, and to me the Grenadier Elites have always been a bit more forgettable. So although they're still great, I'm gonna put them in the A tier. Then we have the Flame Grenadier, known to be armed with the iconic Scorcher Flamethrower. I love their heat resistant helmets and just the way they come at you in the campaign. A really great, iconic enemy type. They flush you out of cover with their Scorcher, and just overall a top tier enemy in the campaigns, all because of the iconic Scorcher pretty much. I think the Scorcher kinda carries them. I don't like them as much as the standard Grenadiers, but their concept and lore is just way more badass, so I'm gonna put them in the S+ tier. Then we have a very special Grenadier variant in my honest opinion. This was a multiplayer skin turned cannon that appeared in Gears 5's multiplayer. We are talking about the Grenadier Ravager variant, the Apex Grenadier class, the Palace Guard equivalent of a Grenadier, who are brutally strong and resilient. They would be the initial storming force when breaching, clearing and laying waste to key fortified cog facilities and fortifications, and they had breaching charges with them that allowed them to create entry points into facilities. Their medieval look, with what feels like inspiration from the Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings, is so freaking badass, and man, they just look unreal, and hopefully they appear in Gears E-Day. They deserve their place in S+ tier without a doubt in my mind. Moving on to the Savage Locust variants of the drones and Grenadiers. Firstly, we have the Savage Drone, the most common of the Savage Locust, and a unique scavenged version of the drone who does look very unique, especially the scavenged helmet and rebreather. I also love how there's 3 different versions of their helmet that we see in Gears 3's multiplayer. They're a great take on the Locust drones going stranded, but for me personally, they're not my favourite Savage Drone variant, but they're up there, so I'm gonna put them in the S tier. Then we have another all-time favourite Grenadier and multiplayer skin for me, the Savage Grenadier. Just so badass, and I really love his aviator's hat and his armour as well. I love how in the campaign they use incendiary grenades as opposed to the traditional frag grenades that the Grenadiers use, since weapons became scarce after the flooding of the Hollows. The Savage Grenadier was also the first to showcase the iconic arm rip execution in the campaign, which as we know was goated. He's one of my favourite Locust skins, and I'm a Grenadier enthusiast, so maybe I'm biased, but yeah, just love this character, so S+ tier for the Savage Grenadier. Then we have the Savage Grenadier Elite, who is also one of the best looking Locust drone skins of all time in my estimation. He doesn't appear in Gears 3's campaign, but was in the multiplayer, but he's also one of my favourite Grenadier variants, so S+ tier for the Savage Grenadier Elite. Then we have the founding fathers of the Savage Locust, the Savage Marauders. I do think these guys are better versions of the Savage drones, because they epitomise what the Savage Locust are and have the signature look. For instance, the conch shell that they wear, that they use to alert other Savage Locust of enemy sightings. A really cool and interesting looking Locust, and I just love the lore behind them. I think they perfectly describe the Savage Locust, so I'm gonna put them in S+ tier. Then we have the Savage Hunters, where the Savage Locust brought the Hunter class back for reasons unknown, probably due to no command structure. But the Savage Hunter were deadly assassins and equipped an animal skin mask, which looks crazy. They were not to be messed with, and their badass design really brings that to life. One of the most vicious looking drones ever in the entire universe. And to be honest, I think if you put these guys one-on-one against any other Locust drone variant, these guys have a compelling case to come out on top. So I think for that reason they've made a good case for the S+ tier. Finally, moving on to the Lambent drone variations, we have the OG, the iconic Lambent drone himself, the face of the Lambent fighting force, and a showcase of how the standard Locust drone became infected and turned into this glowing monstrosity of a drone, with black charred skin and emulsion boils all over its body. Absolutely crazy and grotesque. I would rank the Lambent drone in S+ tier because of its lore, the design, how it's the face of the Lambent faction, and also the fact that some Lambent drones turned into drudges after continuous exposure to emulsion. I don't think the standard Lambent drones can be improved in any other way, so yeah, S+ tier for sure. Next we have the infected Grenadiers. I say infected because they're not fully Lambent at this point. I really love this design, and just seeing how the Lambency is flowing through their veins, the mouth, just through the whole body as it begins changing the Grenadier's body. I ranked the standard Locust Grenadiers at S tier, and these guys look even more badass, and it was crazy seeing them for the first time in Gears 2's campaign by the way. So for me, they're S+ tier as well. Man, I've put so many variants in S+ tier, but what can I do, the variants are just goated. But yeah, next we have the infected Grenadier elites. Now I repeat what I said pretty much for the Grenadier, except you know that I don't like the Grenadier elites as much as the Grenadiers. I ranked the Locust Grenadier elites at A tier, and the Lambent ones are better looking, so this version can go one level above into the S tier. And for our final ranking placement, we have the fully mutated Grenadier, who had horribly formed into a Lambent Grenadier. I think this skin deserves a bit more credit, and it's a shame Gears 3 never introduced a Lambent Grenadier, but it was actually Gears 5 who brought it to life as a multiplayer skin. I'm gonna put it in the S tier, because although the skin is so unique, and is a great take on a Lambent variant of the Grenadier, to make it into S+ for me, it needs to be expanded upon in the future in terms of lore, actually showing up in a campaign, which other deadly mutations would they have, and so on. So there's a lot more to tap into with the Lambent Grenadier. So ultimately, these are my Locust drone rankings. At S+ tier we have Helmeted Standard Drone, Helmeted Sniper Drone, Cyclops, Grenadier Beast Rider, Hunter Elite, the Grappler Drone, the Rager, Flame Grenadier, Grenadier Ravager, Savage Grenadier, Savage Grenadier Elite, Savage Marauder, Savage Hunter, Lambent Drone, and Infected Grenadier. At S tier we have the standard Locust Drone, Sniper Drone, the Locust Drone Hybrid, Beast Rider Drone and Grenadier Elite Beast Rider, the Bolter, the Flame Drone, the Standard Grenadier, the Savage Drone, the Infected Grenadier Elite, and the Lambent Grenadier. At tier A we have the Gunner Drone, the Hunter, and the Grenadier Elite. On tier B we have the Spotter Drone and the Miner Drone. And then, right at the bottom, unfortunately, we have the Locust Disciple Drone. So of course, a lot of rankings in the S+ tier, cause I just think so many Locust drone variants are just goated, man. And same with the S tier as well. I wasn't gonna fill up tiers A, B and C just for the sake of filling them. I genuinely adore most of the Locust variants in the games. And that, my friends, is every Locust drone variant, subclass, mutation, just basically every Locust drone in the Gears of War universe ranked by yours truly, the KingAbzYT. In my most humble opinion, of course. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with my rankings? Do you disagree? And if so, how would you rank them differently? This was a tough video to make, but I really loved creating it. But I do hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for everything Gears of War related, and a big special thank you to those that support me and the channel further through memberships. Thank you for watching, I'm your host Abz, and I will catch you guys next time.